darkness and how actual darkness, the black, the pit, the chaotic source, what have you, is not necessarily connected to evil. And this is something that I feel so much right now. And it's one of the things that comes up and it kind of gets me irritated when I see other people going like, oh, it's dark, it's spooky, all the evil things are out. And it's like, no, not evil things, just other things, unknowable things. And I don't know, it's so interesting to me, the capacity that humans have to turn the unknown, the unfamiliar, into something evil. And I think when I look back on the beginning parts of my craft, that's probably one of the few things that I definitely resonated with in the very beginning, was the idea that this stuff, the occult, witchcraft, interests me to such a degree, but that fear of it being of the devil, evil, that darkness isn't okay, to steer away from it, to always be shedding a light on the dark, is something that definitely got into me. It was something that kind of got into my bones a bit, and to this day even there are a lot of certain things that I look into and I can tell that's where some of my fears still come from. When I think about the unknown, I worry, is it an evil entity? It is an unknowable evil entity that this entire time I'm being tricked. I thought about it recently when I was trying to connect more with my deities. There's this point with Persephone that I literally felt her coming more into me as a way of me learning to let go of certain things, of options, of control, etc. and so forth. This is how she was teaching the lesson. And because of how she was showing that in the astral, I suddenly had this idea of, oh my god, possession, maybe she is a demoness this entire time. Like, these fears flitted through me for a second. And how quickly she just then like froze and was like, I will stop immediately if you want me to stop. But you've asked for these lessons, you've asked for these things. And why are you now so afraid when so earlier you weren't? What is it? What is it really? And so much I think of what the fear of the dark, relating the darkness to evil, is just lack of control. We fear everything we can't see right in front of us. We fear the idea that we won't be able to handle what is being thrown at us if we can't control it. That to be spinning into the void, into the chaos, means nothing but bad things. And I always find it so funny how, why is it that lack of control is so quickly related to the bad and not to the good? There are many great things. Love is so many times a lack of control over how we feel over someone. We feel vulnerable. The idea of a surprise could be good or bad. It is not just a one-dimensional bad thing only in the unknown. It is possibility. And I guess just the possibility of the unknown. And it's so funny too, because going back to control, how often do we have full control? Even if we do have some semblance of our hands into the muck to make things happen, there are still so many times where the control isn't enough. And we end up actually, by attempting to control, by attempting to manipulate, make things worse. We enter the bad thing into the equation. So when the darker half of the year comes around and everything is a little spooky, and that sense of the unknown, the unknowable, comes into play, I find it so helpful to remember that when that fear kicks up, when I start playing a little bit more in my magic, when I feel that sense of disbelief separate from me and it becomes the possibilities, the belief in everything suddenly opens up. And that's almost what ends up terrifying me. Like, oh crap, what if all of this, all of it, everything I've ever thought of once has a possibility of being a thing? And if it's all a thing, whew, that's a lot. It's a lot to take in. That's a lot to attempt to control. It's a lot of things that I don't know if I can control. There's a lot of things that by various natures I just won't be able to control. I won't be able to interact with. It could do harm to me. True, but why did you go there? Why didn't you think of the positives? Why, when you think of the dark in that potential, that chaos, those possibilities, did you immediately go for the negatives? In so many ways, I used to think of myself as a pessimist. In other ways, I thought of myself as an optimist. I constantly fluctuate between the two, and I find myself doing this a lot when I'm like, why am I still focused on so many bad things? I have a very pessimistic mindset as of late. And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can seem to only think of the positives. It's always positive this, positive that. Always good things. And I think it's, again, the balance of the two. Being wary enough to not let everything fall through the cracks, while also allowing the possibility of the good to come through. If you over worry to such an extent, you end up canceling out your blessings before they even get to you. And if those blessings come from that unknowable, that dark place, and you are already questioning what it's doing to you, I'm sorry, if I just flat out, if someone gave me a gift and I was like, what's in it? I wouldn't want to give it to them either. Darkness might snatch that right back and be like, fine, you're not grateful. You're not getting it. You didn't want the happy thing? No more happy things for you. That's what I try leaning into more. When I feel that fear creeping up in the back of my head, I think, oh, scary. But also, and like, what is it, that quote that always pops around Instagram and everything else, the whole idea of like, oh, but what if I fall? And the response is always, oh, but darling, what if you fly? I always like to do that and end on the optimism. The pessimism can kick in, the fear can kick in. I think it's healthy for you to jump sometimes to that level of fear. To sit for a second and go, ooh, no, that is scary. Let's pause that, but do not linger there. Then immediately consider the exact opposite of that. Go to the thing that is all that possibility and potential. Honestly, when I think of the dark, that's what it holds. It holds all potential and possibility and energy, and from that darkness, that's just utter unknowable black is what comes so much. And just because I can't wrap my hands around it, just because I can't even in so many ways comprehend even the vastness of it, doesn't make it evil. It just maybe makes it beyond me, at the same time of me. As I said earlier in my video about how I feel the veil thinning, one of the things that I've noticed is how I feel my connection to that huge void so much more. It seems to be this thing that is reaching out and like grabbing on to like the core of who I am, and it does. It just feels like raw potential. It feels like just connecting back to the very thing that brought me forth, and by me tapping into that primordial level of just all of the possibilities, there's so much power in that. So what do you guys think of the dark? When the dark comes along, when it gets dark half the year, when you feel the veil thinning, so everything gets spooky, do you get a little more of the fear mindset? Or do you take your time and look at the darkness as something that is something to play in, something that could offer fantastic possibilities? All that in the comments down below. It's YouTuber, so I'm making new videos every single day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.